What's going on? Here we go. Another episode of The Walk, powered by Model Match. Okay, in this episode, we had a chance to sit down and talk to Dustin Owen, the regional manager for Waterstone in the Southeast. This was a conversation that we had early April in the midst of the coronavirus pandemic, how it's impacting us and our neighbors, our co-workers, both from a health perspective as well as an economic perspective, how it's affecting our daily lives, our sleep. As you can tell from the bags under my eyes, we're all doing our best. But great conversation with Dustin about how he came up in the business, what he's learned from successes and failures along the way. We talk a little bit about patriotism. We talk about laziness. We talk about water buffaloes. Thanks for joining us on The Walk. What do you got playing in the background? Why don't you turn on Tiger King or something so we don't have to stress out about what the market's doing right now?
I finished Tiger King last night.
What'd you think?
I think that there's a great rationale. Anytime we think, man, that person's batshit crazy, they're not Tiger King crazy. Those characters on that show are proof that that the people that we deal with are still in the center. Because our clients, the people you're recruiting, the people that I'm financing homes for, I've yet to come across any one of those characters. There is no Karen Baskin that I am aware of that I've had to finance over the past 15 years.
You didn't do her mortgage?
I'm grateful I didn't do her mortgage. I couldn't have imagined trying to do it. But she doesn't need a mortgage. When you kill your husband and you're left with $7.5 million, I mean, at that point, you just pay cash for it.
Or run it through the nonprofit. We should probably stop talking about that. Okay, so we're since now we're talking about mortgage financing, let me set the stage a little bit. So first of all, it's April 3rd, which means we're still heavy in the mix of what's going on with the coronavirus, with the how it's impacting markets, the economy, unemployment, how it's impacting my office, your office. So just to set the stage, that's the date that we're knocking this out. We'll probably put it up next week sometime. But Dustin, who is Dustin Owen? Who is D.O.? Introduce yourself, my friend.
Who am I? Well, at 41, almost 42 years of age, I'm still trying to figure that out. I've come to the realization that that's going to be a forever journey that I'm going to be on. But who am I? From a career standpoint, my title says Regional Vice President. If you ask me, I'm a loan rep. I'm a loan monkey. I'm a loan officer. I work in the mortgage industry where my job is to help people finance their homes. Residential financing. There's nothing commercial going on. I started this business as a loan officer, so I always look at myself as a loan officer. But at this point in my career, I'm also a CMB candidate, so I'm looking to sit for my certified mortgage banker this year. I help run the largest region for Waterstone Mortgage, which is the Southeast region, where we manage somewhere around 8 or 9 branches, roughly 45 to 50 loan officers, and we're striving to grow into 2 additional markets so that we can hit that elusive billion-dollar mark in our region in terms of annual production. I'm a father. I'm a husband. I'm a dad. I'm a friend. I'm a son. That's me. I mean, I am everyday Joe, except for my parents named me Dustin.
I love the answer. When you go to a social event and there's that boring question of what do you do for a living, right? I can get an idea of how you probably answer that question now, which is that you don't. Right? You come. It's kind of circular. You'll get to it at some point. So remind me, how many kids do you have? How old are they?
2 kids. I have a 15-year-old son and I have a 12-year-old daughter. So 6th grade and 9th grade. With the whole COVID-19 and schools being shut, I'm curious if next year they're going to be 6th grade and 9th grade, or if they're going to be 7th grade and 10th grade.
No kidding. Do we get forbearance on their grades?
My son hopes so. Yeah, I joke. He's a really good student and a super bright kid, but he's a 15-year-old. He's a freshman in high school.
Look, if you could have gotten forbearance on that year, you'd have taken it.
Oh, I needed freshman and sophomore year. What are you talking about?
Do you have to pay it back at the end, though?
Yeah.
How does this work?
Yeah, maybe they should just take the grades you get next year, and then go ahead and allow you to pick the highest of the two.
Okay.
And then they apply that to your GPA for the year following.
Okay, that's fair. Look, you figured that out. Get with the Department of Education on it. We can put the DO regulatory model to the educational department for sure. How are things at home? I'm curious. How are things at home right now with the kids? Are they homeschooling? So let me back up for a second. You have a podcast, the Loan Officer Podcast.
I do, yes.
Available on all major places where podcasts are offered. It's in your signature. I know there's Apple, there's Spotify. I think I caught a video somewhere through
it's on YouTube.
It was on YouTube.
We're on YouTube. We're Google Play. Anywhere you can find a podcast, you should be able to find the Loan Officer Podcast.
And it's fun. There's a little bit of pop culture from time to time. We've already started off with Tiger King, so I guess we're rolling with the pop culture. But one of the things you talked about recently, as I was listening to one of your podcasts, was about adapting. So that's why I asked the question. We're all adapting right now. We're adapting in so many ways. How is it at home? Are the kids adapting?
You mean the new normal? How is the new normal?
Is it the new normal? We're just going to have another new normal 6 months from now, probably.
Well, personally, after staying up for 2 weeks until midnight, drinking 3 or 4 cocktails, making popcorn, chips and dip, and pizza at 11:30 at night, I had to realize that normal wasn't going to work beyond those 2 weeks. So then I had to force. Yeah, I could have adapted as my new normal. Shoot, you can probably hear that, can't you?
It's okay. Let it be.
Let me see if I hit my do not disturb button. I probably should have done that before we kicked off. My apologies.
Well, no, first of all, we're not live. But second of all, I'm not editing that. That's going to stay right there. So you're good.
All right, beautiful. No need to. But yeah, no, I could have kept my new normal as that guy that stayed up every night drinking 4 or 5 cocktails and, eating tasty food that you tend to want to eat when you have a nice buzz working. Sure. But I would be just a sack of garbage 2 months from now. So the new normal looks like this. Went ahead and cut alcohol out until we're done socially distancing. That way it forces me to be in bed by 10:30, up at 6:45, getting my morning workout in, getting the kids up by 7:30 so they can be doing their schoolwork by 8, still doing the family dinners at night, exercising in the evening. My son, who's really big into long snapping, I've probably caught more punt snaps and extra point snaps in the past 2 weeks than I had the previous 2 months. My daughter's trying to get with her dance company, and they try to do dance from home. My son's football coach is sending workouts, and we're figuring it out. I work in my back patio a lot, except for this morning. We were on a Zoom call with 50 of our loan officers, and I was presenting, and then my business partner, Mike Smalley, muted me because they could hear the birds. I was sitting outside, and I guess the birds became too loud, and they were coming through my headset, and I had to walk back inside, and they had to unmute me. But, yeah, those are the fun things that we're having to experience. I mean, my kids they're getting some education done and some learning done, but it's nowhere near what it was if they were actually in the classroom.
Yeah, it's interesting to hear you kind of talk through it. We've been talking about that a lot also. Thomas, who's sitting here with me right now, managing everything to make sure the video and the audio.
Can we see Thomas? Is it possible to see him?
I'll show you, Thomas. Hold on. You ready?
I'm always ready, buddy.
Fix your wig.
Fix my wig. Hold on.
Keep going.
This is
hey, is that Biggie Smalls on the window? Hey, Thomas. What's going on, man? Good to see you.
What's up, buddy?
Man, a lot right now. Hey, go ahead and pan up for me. Pan up. I want to see, is that a picture of Biggie?
Oh, wait. Okay, so look, over there, this is all graffiti art. It's Justin Bua. You got a basketball scene right now. You got the baller. There's no Biggie. They're all musicians or athletes. So in the back, it's just graffiti art. It's not anybody specific.
Biggie
that's
was
not
a
Biggie.
Rapper.
No,
hold on. He was a rapper.
No, that's not Biggie. That's a blues guitar player.
Okay.
There's a pretty good there's a pretty good glare on it, but that's okay.
I've been to Itabena, Mississippi, which is one of the origins of blues and jazz.
Oh, very cool. That sounds like a place I'd like
look
to
it up.
So for
Yeah, it's
those
about this
that
big.
are for those listening and not watching, we just panned the office. You got to see Thomas's face and some of my art here in the office, which is all graffiti art, basketball, and jazz. I used to play basketball, and I never played jazz.
Okay, what's the story with the bull right behind you? Yeah, is that because you're the big bull?
So again, for those on video, it's a water buffalo. So here's the story behind the water buffalo. That's the only thing that's not graffiti art in here. For my birthday, about a year ago, my mother-in-law asked me what I wanted for my birthday. Well, I'm 48 years old. So let's say I was 47 for that birthday. And what do I want for my birthday? Should anybody be buying me birthday gifts? It just, something didn't feel right about that. But she's a good artist. I said, you know what I want? I want you to paint me a water buffalo. Totally said that. And I didn't think she would.
Okay.
I wasn't sure if she'd remember. So she painted me a water buffalo, and it now looks over me every day.
That's awesome. Any reason for the water buffalo?
No, I just think I thought it was, I don't know. That was like the first thing that came to my brain. I thought it was cool. I kind of dig water buffalo. They seem sort of chill. They look like they could crush you in a second, but they kind of don't care that much. I don't know.
You think they taste good?
Have you had one?
No.
I have no idea.
Yeah,
like
I think it's awesome that you pulled. What's that?
They're kind of muscular. I wonder maybe they'd be a little striated and tough. I don't know. Their pelt could keep you warm.
Yeah, there you go. All right, so I digress. I apologize.
No, I dig it. This is all fun. So we're talking about adapting. Here's a quick adaptation story. So I'm walking to work today. So that's one thing I've been adapting to. Nobody's here in the office. Yes, Thomas is here right now. If the video wasn't clear enough, he's easily 8 feet away from me. You should back up a little bit. So we are social distancing, but I'm walking to work today and I'm taking my early phone calls as I'm walking. Great day today. It's beautiful. The birds are chirping. It seems like a normal day. The grass is cut. It smells like cut grass outside. And I'm on a work call. Well, about 50 yards ahead of me, there's a lady that's walking her dog, and she's walking towards me. That's not abnormal, right? I live in a neighborhood where there's sidewalks and people walk and everybody's friendly. And but all of a sudden, I get a little stressed out. Like, what is appropriate etiquette on the sidewalk right now as you're getting ready to pass one of your neighbors? So when she got close enough where I could see her facial expressions, I could tell she was feeling the exact same thing. So I jumped over into the road. No cars were coming. And I'm 15 feet away from her. We say hello, good morning, and then we keep walking. But once we passed, I had a pretty negative feeling about that. It felt uncomfortable. It didn't feel right. I didn't like it, which are my feelings, right? That's all emotion. But then it made me also think about, Dustin, something that you mentioned in the podcast, which is right now, social distancing is probably the most patriotic thing we could be doing. So instead of feeling negative about me passing her the way that I did, I need to reset myself and think at the moment, it's the most patriotic thing I could be doing. Talk about that for a minute, because I thought that was a good discussion you had the other day.
And make sure when you do that, that you're smiling and waving.
We
right?
did.
Because I
turned my head a little bit just in case there was, I don't know. I didn't want to face her.
Not to cough her way or not to breathe in whatever misty aura she's putting out about herself.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, no, that's So I did this podcast with my producer, John Coleman, who we affectionately call Coleman or JC, and we were talking about social distancing, and I just said to him, I go, I'm someone who grew up idolizing an uncle who was a drill sergeant in the Army, right? If I could have passed the physical, I would have gone into the military myself. But little secret about me, I have 10 metal screws in my jawbone. They've been there since I was 14, and at least back in the late to mid-'90s, that would have prevented me from going into the military, both reservist as well as into OCS after a college degree. So, but I've always felt a sense of like just patriotism. Like you come by, you drive past my house, more days than not, the American flag is flying. I, as a individual, I had a cousin who was in the Peace Corps. I thought Peace Corps was amazing, but I thought AmeriCorps was even more amazing because AmeriCorps helped the poor and less fortunate within our own country versus Peace Corps is more of external, right? So on that same train of thought, I'm trying to think, well, what is the most American thing that I can do right now? And I'm like, well, I can probably stay home. I can probably not go to Hawaii, which, by the way, that was our spring break trip this year that we had been planning for 7+ months. My kids were jacked up about it, and I told them, my wife and I sat them down 4 hours before it was time to go to bed to get up the next morning to go to the airport. Hey, guys, we're not going. And they were like, why? We're healthy. Why? This isn't going to impact us. Why? And I'm like, why? Because A, is the right thing to do. It's the American thing to do. It's kind of like, why don't I drive drunk? I don't drive drunk because I don't think I can. I would like to believe I'm a really good drunk driver. Right? I don't drive drunk because driving drunk is an asshole thing to do, and I could kill somebody. And I don't want to kill somebody, nor do I want to be an asshole. Socially distancing, am I overly concerned that if I get it, I'm going to die? No, I could have it right now, and I don't know I have it.
Asymptomatic, right?
But what if I go hang out with my buddy who's equally as healthy, but he takes it home to his mom who has a heart condition, and now she dies? I don't want to be responsible for Holly's death.
Right.
And that's how I would view it. So to me, it's the American thing to do. Is it devastating what it could be doing to our economy? Yes, but I also buy into believing subject matter experts and listening to subject matter experts. If I want to open a recruiting company, I need to call you first because you're a subject matter expert at recruiting. If somebody wants a home loan, they should call me. I'm a subject matter expert at residential finance, but I'm not a subject matter expert at anything medical related. So I need to listen to the doctors who are and trust that they know what they're talking about. And I need to listen to the economists who 8 out of 10 that I've read have stated it would be far worse for our economy if we didn't try to flatten this curve as quick as possible. Like, yes, what we're experiencing right now is a kick to the gut. It shouldn't be a knockout punch, but it's a kick to the gut, and kicks to the gut hurt. But what would you prefer, one kick to the gut or someone constantly jabbing you in your rib cage over and over and over again for the next 18 months just to find out that they're going to kick you in the gut anyhow, but it was after they jabbed you in the side for the 18 months? And that's kind of how I correlate.
Let's just get it over with.
Yeah, well, that's what the experts say, the subject matter experts. Yes, I'm sure there's that outlier economist who says we should go back to work, all of us. Let the sick die, let the weak die, and so be it. But 4 out of 5, right? If 4 out of 5 dentists recommend Crest, I'm going to use Crest to whiten my teeth. If 4 out of 5 economists tell me that what we are doing by following the medical doctor's advice is also the best thing to do for our economy, I'm going to play the law of averages, and I'm going to go with those 4 out of 5. So that's kind of what we've been experiencing, what we've been doing, and how we're tackling it from a mindset standpoint.
No, I really like that. So I thought about it this morning. I thought that's an act of patriotism right now in the moment that we live in. It also got me thinking, when you were just talking a little bit about another topic that I've heard you talk about, which is trying to figure out who's right and who's wrong in a moment where we don't know. We don't know right now. We'll look back on things a year from now, 5 years from now, and maybe we can then lay some blame, or maybe then we can say, oh, this person was right and they should have been lifted up a little bit louder during that moment of time. But it also got me thinking, though, about this is how our lives work in general. There's decisions that you make throughout your life as a high schooler. Your podcast, you talk about all the things that should have been taught to you in high school that weren't taught to you in high school. And those are the things that you like to talk about in your podcast. It's also just part of who you are and your personality, Dustin. But it also gets me thinking about those moments in your life where you're getting advice, you don't know who's right or who's wrong, but the decisions you're making now and the failures, by the way, that you might be having right now are going to lead to who you are 5 years, 10 years, 15 years from now. I'm curious, can you think of stories from when you were in high school or college, trying to think about who you were going to be as a business person, as a husband, as a father? Any failures along the way that you can pinpoint that you think those were actually help in the moment? They were really bad, but in the big scheme of things, they were helpful for who I am now.
It's interesting because life is full of failures, right? If we can't fail, we can't succeed. Meaning, if we're not willing to fail, then it makes it very difficult to succeed, or to at least succeed at the highest level, because every failure brings an opportunity to learn, sure. Right? And you hear a lot of people talk about, well, you need to fail forward. But yeah, you do need to fail forward, but make sure you're always moving in that direction. I have tons of stories that I draw on, and unfortunately for my kids, especially my son, he gets to hear all of those stories. Like what 50-year-old wants their dad to lecture
come
them?
on, Dad.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, right. But he gets them all the time. I mean, I remember being, and I hope this is kind of where you're getting at. I was probably 19 years old. I worked at the local Home Depot, and there was a gentleman. He was a janitor for the school system, Monday through Friday, and then he worked nights and weekends at the Home Depot with me in the lumber department. And I remember him telling my boss that he wouldn't work with me. And it wasn't that I was young. It wasn't that I was cocky. It was because I was lazy. And this guy, look, he was all business. He was easily 20, if not 30 years my senior. He worked 2 jobs to provide for his family. He, I was in college, so I was educating myself. He wasn't afforded that opportunity to get an education. Yet I still remember the day that George told Chad, this was over 20 years ago, that he wouldn't work with me and how it made me feel. I promise you this, from that day on, no one was going to outwork me. I mean, I was going to show up at 3 p.m. My shift ended at 11 p.m., and as long as I didn't have a class that next morning, or more importantly, a class I cared to go to, I was going to ask them to lock me in, and I was going to work overnight, where I would just pack out all of the shelving units full of lumber so that when the store opened up at 6 a.m., every product was available and every product was presentable, right? So that to me was a failure where I just wasn't a hard enough worker. Right. I was a failure when I was too eager to climb the ladder, and I still am. And by the ladder, I mean like the corporate ladder. And I probably made a career decision that if I had just stayed, and I've done this twice in my career, by the way, if I just stayed put, it would have been the better option. But I didn't. I moved, my wife and I, from Atlanta, Georgia, to West Palm Beach, Florida, for a job opportunity that I was too young and naive to actually vet properly. That's when I learned the life lesson of make them write it down. And basically they didn't write down my job offer. I got there. The job was nothing like I wanted. And had I just stayed in Atlanta, I would have gotten the promotion that I desired within months of leaving, but I was a little bit impatient. Now, had I not done that, I wouldn't have ended up in the mortgage industry more than likely. And then it's while in the mortgage industry that I've been able to find a fulfilling career both emotionally, financially. I just couldn't imagine not being a mortgage banker. But, so those are things that to me were failures, but it made me who I am today.
Is it? And I think that there's probably a lot of people that can draw on stories like that, or maybe think back to their own stories in moments like we're in at the moment, and probably moments that are going to continue for a period of time right now, where things are changing. You're having to adapt quickly. You're not quite sure, do I trust the next decision that I'm going to make? But as long as it's thoughtful and you are taking one more step forward, it's always interesting what's around the corner. And it's not always right around the corner, right? Sometimes you have to delay that gratification to be able to look back and say to yourself, like you just did, if it wasn't for this and this that I consider failures, I wouldn't have ended up in the industry that I really was meant to be in.
Correct. I think that's the whole forward aspect of failing forward, right? Never stop trying. Never stop trying to get better. I mean, it doesn't matter who I was yesterday. I want to be better today. That's as a father. That's as a friend. That's as a son, as a brother. Like, I know I'm not always the best son to my mom and dad, and I have amazing parents. When I catch myself not being the best son, then I put myself in check, and I lay out an action plan for what I can do to, at least for a moment, be that son that I feel like they deserve. Same thing goes with my friends and goes with my wife and my kids, but even here at business. I mean, look, none of us are perfect. I think that's what makes us great, is that we are imperfect. And not all of us can be on our A game. I don't know if you know Tim Davis. Tim Davis is now with Movement Mortgage. He was a loan toolbox way back in the day. He was a loan originator. He lives in Nashville, Tennessee. And I love this. Tim and I were playing golf. This might be 10 years ago today, or now, but it seems like it was yesterday. And I've taken this and I've swiped it and adapted it. And every time I can, I try to give Tim credit where credit's due. Tim told me one day we were out golfing, and he goes, "Hey, Dio, people always say give 110%. He's like, "Man, bull crap." I'm like, "What?" And by the way, Tim doesn't cuss. So for him to say bull crap, we're like, well, I don't know. Yeah, 'cause there's nowhere's off limits for me. But when he says that, it catches my attention, and he goes, "Look, if you can't give me 110%, give me 50%, give me 60%." He goes, "Salespeople have it wrong. Too many times we're told it's all or nothing. Either give 110% or don't at all." Heck, think of athletes or people who train for half marathons and triathlons. It's like, oh, shit, well, I can't do my 13 miles today, so I guess I won't run.
Mm-hmm.
No.
Right.
You know what? Right? Go and do something. And I think that's part of the whole failing forward. It's understanding that not every day you're going to be perfect, but as long as you're continuing to try and you're putting forth effort, then you'll be able to be great in spurts. What you never want to do is sputter or go backwards.
Well, the other side of that too, maybe, is that, and with you as a leader, someone who's managing a team of people, and I know you look at them as teammates and not necessarily an org chart, but there are people that count on you. There are people that need your leadership. There may be people on your team that, as long as you know what they're willing and capable of giving, you can then be in a position to put them in a spot to succeed. If it's up and down, you're giving me 20%, then you're giving me 100%, then you're giving me 10%, and then I don't know where you are for a week, and then you're back in 50%, that's not manageable. But there's probably people on your team that look, this person over here doesn't want to make six figures. That's not what they want to do. They want to do their job. I remember a story, Dustin, you can probably relate to this with people that you work with. I remember a story of an originator from years ago that was doing a couple million a month with a client of ours, a mortgage company we partnered with. And that company was excited about getting that originator to do 4 million a month in volume because they felt like this person could. They have the contacts, they have the time, they have the expertise. We're going to give you everything you need to turn that 2 million into 4 million. So the head of production goes and sits down and talks to this person, gives them the dog and pony show, and ends it with, boom, let's go get you to 4 million a month. And you know what the loan officer said? The loan officer said, I own a boat. I like to fish. I enjoy my Friday afternoons. You can take my 2 million a month, or I will take it somewhere else. But in that moment, for the manager, I remember the story from that person, it was just a great opportunity for them to realize, oh, I was only thinking about what we thought you wanted. Now I know what you want, and I can help keep you in a place to achieve the things that are most important to you. And I think that relates a little bit to what Tim was saying.
Yeah, well, so check this out. So you're talking about failures. Oh, as a manager, I didn't go to school for management, right? I went to school for advertising and public relations. I studied how to sell and how to market myself. Management, you learn as you go. Most of us in the mortgage business, that's what we do. We are a top producing loan officer. Someone gave us an opportunity to become a leader, and some of us have done well on it. Some people realize, nope, they're just really good loan originators, right? So as a manager, I struggled for years, because I'm hard-headed, to quit imposing my will and my desires and my mindset onto others, and to figure out what they want, manage them accordingly, and at a minimum, maybe push them a little bit, but don't try to impose my will of, oh, Eric, you have all the tools. You should be doing 3.5, 4 million a month, when the Eric I'm talking about might be like, bro, I'm totally cool doing 1.5. That person, you then say, what can I do to help you do 1.5? And more importantly, are you sure 1.5? Because I think you can do 1.8 in terms of monthly production. Right? I want to push the envelope. I want to encourage them a little bit, but I struggled and I failed, and it took 3, 5, maybe even 7 years. Looking back on the timeline, I've been here at Waterstone Mortgage for 12 years, so it was easily those first 5, if not the first 7, that my partners and I struggled mightily at trying to impose our way of doing things and our mindset on others versus trying to figure out what's their mindset and then how do I coach and how do I mentor to that.
Right. Yeah, not everybody's you. Not everybody wants what you want, but that doesn't mean that you can't be successful together as long as you're putting your heads together in the right way. Okay, I got a final question for you.
Yes.
Did you work out this morning?
I ran 6.1 miles.
Were you listening to music while you were running?
Ooh, today was music because my drive-in was a podcast.
So when you were listening to the music this morning, what was the music? Give me a couple artists.
Okay, so I threw on Pandora, and I threw on the Clint Black radio station that I created, because right now I'm in the 90s country. That's just my thing. I had been wearing out Lil Wayne and literally.
Going to say.
Yeah, no. I've been wearing out. Actually, I've been wearing out Biggie, Lil Wayne. Like, I have this old school rap. I call it new school rap, but my 15-year-old son and my 22-year-old or my 20-year-old nephew tell me that Lil Wayne stuff's old school because it was like from 3 or 5 years ago. Like, right. I'm listening to Migos, and they're like, "Oh, Uncle D, that's so like middle school." You know, my nephew just graduated high school a year ago. But anyhow, so this morning it was Clint Black Radio on Pandora, and so I had Clint Black, I had Tracy Lawrence, I had some Garth Brooks slide in there. Yeah, I mean it was 90s country. Why do you ask though?
Because these are the things that are most important, Dustin. If anybody wants to know who Dustin is, sitting here talking about $2 million a month versus $3 million a month isn't going to get us there. It's going to be, what are you listening when you do your workouts? That's how we know who D.O. is.
So I'm back on 75 hard, right? So I think last time I saw you, I was either getting ready to start 75 hard or getting ready I was ending it.
Yeah,
Are you
were just getting ready to start it.
Yeah. So 75 hard, I picked this up from a friend of mine who picked it up from a podcast. And it's essentially for 75 consecutive days, you have to follow a healthy diet. You have to drink a gallon of water. By the way, your healthy diet includes no alcohol.
Wait, just to be clear, though, you're not drinking a gallon of water in 75 days.
No, a day. So, yes, okay, I digress. For every day, for 75 consecutive days, without fail, you must follow a healthy diet that includes no alcohol. Drink a gallon of water. Take a picture of yourself. Read 10 pages of a entrepreneur self-help type book, and work out twice a day for 45 minutes minimum. And by the way, one of those workouts has to be outside, whether it's -9 or 99 degrees.
Okay.
So in Florida, we're now out of spring, we're into summer, and it'll be 92 degrees in a couple days. It was 92 last week. Right now we have a cold snap coming through, so it's like a high of 80 right now. But that means if I want to run a 10K like I did this morning, I got to get my happy ass out of bed by 6 a.m. so that I can get my 6.1 miles in before the sun comes up, because running in 80-degree heat and 100% humidity
not going to work.
It's not fun at all. Yep. No. So if you want to know who I am, I'm up for crazy challenges like 75 hard. Yeah, I'm a human. I'm a lot of fun. I'm a massive pendulum, right? So you can't see this right now. I actually started this thing called Grow It to Slow It, right? Okay. So starting last Thursday, I shaved everything. My beard came off, shaved my head, and I'm not going to shave my head, my neck, my beard, nothing until we all can return back to work and the curve has been flattened.
Okay, so here's Thomas, hold us accountable to this. Somebody has to decide when that day has actually come, because I'm not sure. Dustin, you can be accountable to that. When that day actually comes, you email us or text us. Let's do a quick 2-minute, 3-minute follow-up to this.
Okay. Are you going to jump on board?
No. I'm just going to look at your face. We're going to video you one more time, right? And then we'll go back to whatever our new norm is. We could talk about that for a minute. So Dustin has to hold us accountable to the date, and then Thomas will pull us together to do another quick follow-up.
Here's the problem. You all can't see this. You can't really see my hair, can you? In
Not yet.
Video?
No.
No. My kids are freaking out. Dad, shave your head. Dad, shave your head. Like, I'm that guy that started shaving my head in high school because I played sports, and it was just more comfortable wearing helmets all the time to have a shaved head. Then I started balding in my early 20s. Well, plus Michael Jordan made it cool for all of us to have a shaved head.
Yeah, we need Michael back.
Then I started shaving my head because I had early balding. So I've had, for the most part, a shaved head for the past 20 years. Mm-hmm. So if you can't see it, but I promise you, a week's growth, and my son is like, Dad, don't. Dad, don't. But what's going to be really gross is the neck hair, right? Like, the beard's cool. Like, I see you have a little scruff. I've always kept a little scruff. But I always kept my neck trimmed. Nothing.
Okay, so but we're doing this after the curve has passed the flattening stage. Is that what
it's called Grow It to Slow It. So basically, once life has been returned back to another new normal, which means I can go to the movies, NBA, MLB, college football. Like
That's
once
easy.
we're back to that. Sports. You and I are sports fans. Once sports are back, once I can go back to the gym. You know, I'm doing P90X right now.
Oh my God.
Do you remember P90X workouts from like 10 years ago?
Yeah, you brought it back.
Dude, I dug out DVD players. I have one DVD player in my house. It's upstairs in like the kids' room where they play, or they used to play when they were little.
And you're doing Billy Blank's Tybo.
I'm not doing Billy Blank's Tybo, but I am doing P90X because my gym's been closed for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And the 75 hard, I'm supposed to do 2 workouts. Well, one of those is me running or biking in the morning. The other one was typically me lifting weights, but I can't lift weights. So, yeah, I was freaking doing yoga yesterday. You should have heard me, like, grunting and snorting upstairs. My wife's yelling up to me, "What is going on? Are you okay?" I'm like, "I'm just trying to get through P90X yoga, honey. Everything's all right."
When we see Dustin again, he's going to weigh 135 pounds, and 10 of it's going to be his neck hair.
By the way, you can't see this come sitting down at 6'2". So 6'2", 135. I got Bozo the Clown here, and I got like the Wolverine neck hair. Just,
I love it. Hey, Dustin, you're a blast. We appreciate your partnership. I can attest to the fact that you're great at what you do, but you're also a fun guy, a killer human being. I appreciate you for being on the podcast today. If anybody wants to get in with Dustin, check him out on LinkedIn. Check out the Loan Officer podcast. You'll learn something. It's a lot of fun. Hey, Dustin, keep working out, keep drinking your water, keep growing your hair, and I will see you again soon, my friend.
Eric, I appreciate you and Thomas having me on. For the audience, I apologize if I don't think I brought anything of substance, but hopefully made you laugh once or twice, and it was entertaining.
Totally disagree. I think you brought a lot of substance. The reality is that we talk about specifics a lot when it comes to growing your business or growing your relationships or adding efficiencies to your day, getting better at what you do. But it's my belief after years of talking to so many people in supporting those things that the ones that are successful are the ones that pay attention to what's happening outside of the lines. It's they pay attention to the little things that makes Dustin who he is and where he has successes. And then if you can replicate those little things, you will find value. So Dustin, I think you created a ton of value in this talk. And I'm way more excited to talk to you again like a month or two from now when I can check out the new Dustin.
Perfect. I appreciate it. And hey, two parting comments or ideas I want to share. Okay. For managers, the best way to grow your branch, don't hire assholes. Plain and simple. Okay? For those who are looking to join a team, if you want to be a great team member, don't be an asshole. And then finally, like the end-all, be-all, as people in business, only work with those you like and only hire those that you like. Because life is too short to have to come in and do business with a bunch of people that you don't like. That would probably be my biggest eye-opening epiphany over the past 3 years has been just that. When we quit hiring assholes and when we quit not being likable ourselves and when we quit hiring people that we didn't like, then all of a sudden we found this euphoric culture that people want to be a part of. And I would want any of your audience members to know that, especially if they're business people like you and I are.
I agree, and that extends across all industries. It's not just about the one that we're in. Dustin, appreciate you, bud.
Thank you, guys. Take care.
You got it.